Okay, yeah. He's sight.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Three Guys Who Love Sports. My name is Chuck Burrs, and we're here, as usual, at the Red Hair Brewery on Delk Industrial Boulevard. And happy to have with us today Mr. Robert, the Sports Encyclopedia, Kenny.
Glad to be here.
And Mr. Bob Kelly. Bob, thanks for being with us today.
I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
Thank you so much for being here. So we are a show to help guys take their minds off the problems they are having. It started with a friend of mine that has prostate cancer, and when I couldn't get him to talk about anything but sports, he wanted to talk about prostate cancer, so we talked about sports all we can. And if I can take his mind off of it for an hour a week, we'll do that. And if somebody else will help with these other people too, that would be great too. So one of the people you're going to hear a little bit more about from Bob Kelly is helping one guy. So the great organization out of Kennesaw that says, do what you can for one, what you'd like to do for all, or something like that. Is that right, Bob?
Right. Yeah, Josh has thrown that in there since he's gotten aboard.
Awesome. Josh Webb is the director up there. So great organization that we will be supporting from Three Guys Who Love Sports. Today we're going to do a little wrap up on the NFL draft from last week. Bob wasn't with us, but I'm sure he knows enough about sports to say something. And we did pretty good. But we want to hear what you thought about the draft, and not only that, what are your favorite Brave moments? Because we're going to be talking about the Braves in the second and third segment today, the history of the Braves and the history of Atlanta baseball. So look forward to that. Guys, again, welcome. And if you want to text in, that phone number is 470-7-SPORTS. Once again, 470-7-SPORTS. But for you Georgia graduates, you can't read anything but numbers. That's 470-777-6787. So feel free to text in, and we'll get going now.
So
Robert,
Chuck,
what do you think about the draft?
Well, we made 10 picks last week. How many did we get right?
One.
Who got that right?
Me.
Nice. Well, just for the record, I did see during the draft, as I was kind of sulking that we only got one out of our 10, as Russ would say, the skunk did not get his first pick right until pick number 24. So he was over for the first 23.
So why aren't they listening to us instead of listening to
we're way ahead of the drunk and the skunk, as Russ would say.
Russ, you were all over the top of this, baby.
Absolutely.
We did pick 7 out of the top 10, Bob, which is not bad.
That's not bad at all, guys.
Yeah, so we had 7. You just didn't have them going to the right team.
Correct.
And again, it's very hard for Robert to pick Aiden Hutchinson going to Detroit when I pick him going to Jacksonville. And he did say, I think Aiden Hutchinson will go to Detroit. We didn't each pick our own top 10. In that case, we might get 2, 3, 4 more, maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, what do you think about the Falcons? What did the Falcons do?
The Falcons disappointed me yet again. But, going into the 6th pick and those 2 offensive tackles were still on the board, I was so excited because I knew there was no way the Panthers and Giants were going to go 6 and 7 and take those 2 guys. And when they did, I thought, it's okay. We're going to take the kid out of Mississippi State. And, of course, we blew it up and went with a slow, tall wide receiver from the left coast. So,
well, I got to give the Falcons some props because I thought about that too, and I read about what Terry Fontenot said. Terry Fontenot said, you know what, would you rather have the 4th best lineman, would you rather have the 4th best defensive lineman, or would you rather have the best receiver?
We're not sure he got the best receiver, but I like his thought process.
But it was his best for his perspective.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that's a valid point, wouldn't you say?
It is, unless the offensive tackles are all future Hall of Famers, so that's a possibility.
And that's very hard to know whether that's the case or not. But it was a fun draft to watch. I thought Vegas was a great city to have it in.
Oh, yeah, they looked like they were having fun. I listen to 680 The Fan as I ride around because they sort of hit on everything. And on Tuesday, they talked to Matt Miller from ESPN. And
he used to be GM at the Lions, too?
No, that's not, no.
That's Millen.
Matt Millen, that's right, Matt Millen. Yeah.
So they were talking about where do you think the Falcons ended up in the Central Division, not everything. And he said he thought they ended up number 1. He said he liked the receiver choice. Southern Cal guy, I'm mixed emotions on him, and a lot of it is because he's from the Southern Cal guy. But he talked about Ryder a lot, the kid from Cincinnati.
Absolutely.
And I liked him. I thought that was a good pick. He didn't really like Ryder. He said he's going to be a second-team quarterback his career. He says his accuracy is not as good. The way defense has changed as you're there calling singing, he said he's going to have a lot of problems with that.
Well, and let me just say this one thing, Bob, because I've had 3 different people come up to me since the draft and tell me how horrible his accuracy is. And his sophomore year, he was in the 50s, okay? So that's not real good. But his last 2 years, he's averaging out at about 65%, which isn't horrible. You'd like your college guys to be a little higher when the competition level goes up a little bit. Maybe they drop down to 65%. But when you think about he's 65% in college, he doesn't have to play this first year, and he's going to have better weapons from the Atlanta Falcons. London and Pitts, he didn't have anything that looked like London and Pitts while he was in Cincinnati. So that's gonna give him a little bit of an uptick as well.
The bad news is he probably had a better offensive line in Cincinnati
that's
than he will have in Atlanta.
Especially
Well,
when
he
he
did
didn't
have
take an
that.
offensive lineman.
And that's why he ran so well. And you know, I watched that whole game when they played my guys, the Irish, up in South Bend, and you know, Ryder had a very good day. I mean, he said he was going to beat him like old Joe Namath, and he went out and he did.
He did.
Threw a lot of short passes and stuff versus the long 70-yard accuracy type
Right.
thing. But they had a great game plan, and he did what he was supposed to. He had a great ball game against the other.
You got to take what's given to you, right?
Right, you have to.
But you know, we didn't take Ritter until the 74th pick, so we didn't reach on him. So I think that's the one thing that all Falcons fans should be kind of happy. At least we didn't go wide receiver, trade up for a quarterback, and hopefully the kid from Penn State pans out and we get a little bit of a pass rush out of our second round.
Yeah, there was only one quarterback taken in the first 2 rounds, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
And
I can't remember. It was
oh,
Kenny Pickett at 20. Yeah.
yeah, and supposedly I've never seen an article where they talk more about somebody's hand size, except for we won't go into that. But they keep saying he has the smallest hands in the NFL right
Kenny
now.
Pickett?
Kenny Pickett does, and that's
Wow.
and they said it like 4 times, and I was like, you know, okay, you know, you're starting to give the guy an edge or something. I don't know.
Well, I did read that either McShay or who's the other one? Kuiper? Skunk and Drunk.
Skunk and the Drunk.
Rusty says they did give the Falcons the highest grade for the second day.
That's good.
They said they had the best draft of the second day from any of the 30 teams, which I thought is pretty high praise from those guys that don't know any more than we do.
Hey, better than saying you're the worst, you know.
Exactly. So, Falcons did okay. We understand Fontenot's rationale now by taking the wide receiver. Don't know that I agree with it or not, but I do see where he's coming from. Who had the best draft? Who do you think had the best draft in the NFL?
I don't want to say the Jets just because their first 2 picks, the one that you got right, and then number 10, they went cornerback, wide receiver, and in the NFL, I don't like anybody taking 2 skinny guys to start out when you have that many high picks. I'm gonna say they're definitely in the running because they did get the best running back in the thing, and they also got the kid from Florida State who kept dropping down the board, the defensive end. But I think the Giants really killed it. I think the Giants got possibly the best defensive lineman and the best offensive lineman in the draft, and I don't think that's probably ever happened before.
They got Neal and who
They
else
got
was the other one?
Thibodeau out of Oregon.
Gavon Thibodeau, yeah. That's a good draft.
Yeah,
The other one, I think the Eagles did well too.
Eagles did extremely
So
well.
I think in the NFL East, I think those 2 teams really did well, and which should hopefully again make that division a tougher division because they all think Dallas is loaded. But he's
Everybody always thinks Dallas.
well, they do that for Mr. Jones.
Jerry Jones was loaded.
Jerry Jones is loaded, exactly. But I completely agree. I said something to Chuck earlier about the Eagles. Their trade for A.J. Brown from Tennessee now all of a sudden gives him Devontae Smith to one side, A.J. to the other side. I think this is the year that we decide if Jalen Hurts is an NFL quarterback, because if he does not pan out this year, remember, these are not the people who drafted him and not the coach who decided to be there. So I think if it doesn't work out for him this year, they're going to just drop a new quarterback in because they've kind of built a lot of stuff around him already.
I think that's a good way to build a team. Somebody once said, was it you, Bob? Somebody said you build a team from the center out. And I think that's a great way to look at it. I will go ahead and say I think the Jets did have the best draft. Not only did they get the 3 players that you talked about, but they also got Breece Hall, who is the number 1 running back taken. And we talked last week about how we can't believe a running back. I don't think he went to the 3rd round.
I think it was the start of the second round,
Start of
but
the second round?
but
Long time.
still the number one running
Yeah,
back.
Number one running back goes in the second round, and he's a good running back. Got a lot of speed, a lot of power. The coolest pick, I think, was made by Baltimore. This guy that is like 6'8", 386 pounds or something like that. Who's going to block him? Or who's going to rush against him? I don't know. That's a huge dude.
They say everybody loves Harbaugh's draft.
Yeah, Baltimore. Everybody said Baltimore probably had the best draft. A couple other things I thought were really funny was I thought one of the quarterbacks, Garofalo or Baker Mayfield, would be traded for. Mm-hmm. And they're still on their team. So what are they going to do? Cleveland's going to carry Deshaun Watson and Mayfield on the roster?
Do the Baker Mayfield commercials stop if Deshaun Watson's the quarterback, or I don't know how that part will work.
Yeah.
Guys, when it comes to NFL, I'm not as wise. I watch it, but I think I didn't realize how good this linebacker the Falcons had. This kid Jet, is it? The kid they just gave the 3-year contract to. I am right. He's a linebacker, isn't he?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. He had 100+ tackles last year. He's put himself in the area of the Butkuses and those type of linebackers, because when you get 100+ tackles, somebody made the comment, well, that means they got through the offensive line. No, it doesn't. That means you got stopped at the offensive line.
Right.
Exactly.
So I think they have something there to build around with him.
We're hopeful you are correct.
Yeah. And the other thing, I always watch the first round and occasionally look in to see what the Falcons are doing, but I always stick around to see Mr. Irrelevant, who was the very last pick of the NFL draft, 264 or 272, I think it was. And this year, right before they picked him, one of the announcers said, Mr. Irrelevant has never thrown a pass in the NFL, so I don't know if they had insight or not, because the next pick was Brock Purdy, quarterback from Iowa State. And that made 7 or 8 quarterbacks that were taken in the draft.
And of course, that Mr. Irrelevant went to San Francisco, so you've already brought up Garoppolo. We know they traded up last year for Trey Lance, so they're still not sure what the heck they're doing out there. So who really knows who gets the ball on week 1 or week 10?
Yeah, so I know it's way too early to talk. What do you think the Falcons are going to be in the NFL South? They know what they're in? They're in the South?
NFL
Yeah.
South. I'm hoping Marcus Mariota plays and Ritter gets to watch from the sideline, hold clipboard for a little while. And I think we'll be last or second to last, depending on how bad the Panthers are.
We very well could be the first team picking next year.
I think we're going to have a top 5 pick, so I think, I'm excited.
So it makes the draft a little bit more tolerable, knowing that we've got
Correct.
we got a little future
That is correct.
coming up.
That's correct.
I love football so much. It's my favorite sport. No
Well,
offense, Bob.
that's okay. But my question is, how can Arthur Blank be so smart when it comes to business, and he has wasted more money than the 3 of us will ever put in our pocket?
Oh,
That's probably a truism.
I just don't understand it. Sports are a business now, so they need to be run the same way. And as genius as he was when it came to Home Depot, he definitely he's sort of like Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, I would go along with that.
Yeah.
All right, Robert, we got any other final comments on football?
Oh, I do have one. Last couple of years, my Buffalo Bills have been looking pretty good, and going into the playoffs, I keep saying I don't think they can do it because they do not have a number 1 running back. Secret is out. I think they just got a number 1 running back. I think.
Did they get Spiller from Texas A&M?
No, they got Cook from Georgia. And
there goes
I
the
know.
number 1
Here we
running
go.
back there.
Here we go. But I think he could be the difference maker come next winter.
Well, I knew we couldn't get the receiver without somebody bringing up the dogs. So, speaking of looking good, step out for we'll let Michael sit in here, the man with the plan from Red Ham Brewery, Mr. Michael Dunn.
Hey, how's it going,
What
guys?
is happening, Michael?
Been a little bit since I've gotten to be back on the show, so I'm happy to be here. How y'all doing?
If I was any better, that'd be Michael.
This is, That's funny you say that. When I was growing up, I used to say this phrase, and like I think all the kids at school thought I was like really arrogant. But I used to be like, people would be like, "How are you doing?" I'd be like, "There's never a bad day to be Michael Danahy." And the reality is, if you have a good outlook on life and you stay positive, like just don't let stuff bring you down. So
Amen.
it all works out.
Speaking of positive, there's
Yeah.
some positive things going
Oh,
on at Red
there
Hair.
are some wonderful things going on at
We
Red
got
Hair.
10th anniversary coming up.
11,
11th anniversary.
exactly, and that is
11th
exactly
coming
what
up.
I'm here to talk about, my friend. Yeah, so guys, I don't know what else to say it. We've been doing it right, and we've been doing it right for 11 years, and we're really excited to celebrate that fact. We had a super awesome decade party last year, and we're really excited to kind of look into the next decade of Red Hair and how things are going to go in 2022 and beyond. So our 11-year anniversary party is on May the 14th. We're going to have, I think it's like 4 or 5 local bands, 2 different food trucks, axe throwing, bunch of different kinds of beers, some new spirits too. So it's going to be a super fun party. And because I like you guys so much, I'm going to let you in on a little bit secret. So starting today and running through the end of the day this coming Sunday, because gentlemen, do you know what Sunday is?
Mama's Day.
It sure is Mother's Day. As I like to say, skip the flowers this year. Mom needs an ice cold beer. So if you use the code CHEERS2, the number 2, CHEERS2MOM, on Eventbrite, where you can buy tickets for the event, if you use the code CHEERS2MOM, you'll get 50% off your general admission tickets now through the end of the day on Sunday. So please, 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 take advantage of that discount code. We want people to be able to come enjoy the party, get multiple drinks with your ticket, all kinds of fun. So it'll be a really good time, and Lord knows I'll be having a beer while I'm here. So come say hi to me.
Also, you've got the race coming up in June.
Oh, yeah, we got all kinds. I mean, if I'm going to take some stage time, I'll tell you about that, too. Yeah, June 11th, we've got our semi-annual 5K taking place in downtown Marietta near our Marietta Square location. We'll be running through, the square and beyond. It's benefiting the Dobbins Top 3 organization, which is a group that helps raise money to support friends and family associated with our Dobbins folks. And we just want to give back to our servicemen and women since they are right around the corner. So, yeah, if you want to participate in that, you can sign up for the race. We are still accepting sponsors. I know Chuck's involved with Arioki, and they're going to be there too. So please come down, whether it's to the anniversary party for a good time, or if you want to. I didn't even say the most important part. When you run in the 5K, you get a free beer at the end. So not every 5K do you get to drink at and celebrate your win.
Faster.
Yeah. Believe it or not, last year we had people just walk up and be like, "Hey, I'm not running the race this year. I signed up, but can I just have the beer?" And we were like, "All right, man, you beat the line. I don't know what else to tell you. I already paid for it." So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that with us. And I'm sure that if somebody wants to watch the Kentucky Derby,
Oh, yeah.
they could come.
Oh, I didn't even think
They
about
could
my
come here
picks
and
for
horse
this week.
around on
Yeah,
Saturday, right?
yeah, we'll have the Derby on.
Funny.
Yeah, that was
Horse around.
all right. I think usually the race is at like 6:05. I am. If you don't,
Post time.
I was gonna say if you don't know, I am a very loyal Kentuckian, a proud Kentuckian, and I will be in the Commonwealth this year for the Derby. So, but they'll be definitely watching it here at Red Hair. And we don't serve bourbon yet, but if we ever did, I would definitely tell you to come have some here. But beer's just as good too. So I guess I would say go Braves. I would say go Cats because I'm from Kentucky. I would say always pick the gray horse. That is one thing that I learned in life. And go Red Hair. So.
I have a story about that. We'll talk all day. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, guys.
you coming in,
Appreciate
buddy.
y'all.
Thanks. All right, Robert, come on back in here, buddy. So we talked some football, and now we're going to get into the history of the Braves. And I introduced the man on my left, your right, as Bob Kelly, but many of you would remember him as Brother Francis, that prowled the dugout on the top of the Braves on the first base side at old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium from 1980, 1985, 84?
84.
So, Brother Francis, welcome.
Well, thank you, Chuck. It's nice to be here. Doing this in a brewery is really hurting me because right now I'm not allowed to drink any brewskis because I just had some surgery, and being an Irishman and I'm a brewski
You'll be
man.
back.
I'll be back. I'll be back. So
That's cool. But really great to have Brother Francis here. We're going to be having some stories shared with him, from him, about the Braves. And me and Robert have so many questions, it's not even funny, but I'm going to talk out a little bit about Braves history. Do you know when the Braves organization was founded? Mr. Encyclopedia.
I haven't looked that one up in a while. I'm going to go 1888.
Close. 1871. They were founded in
My-
Boston.
My dad had tickets for that game. I couldn't go, guys.
It was founded as the Boston Red Stockings, and did not actually become the Braves until 1912. But there were some interesting names in between, which I'm not quite sure that you would know. But you're about to. From the Red Stockings, they became the Bean Eaters. From the Bean Eaters, they became the Doves. From the Doves, they became the Rustlers. From the Rustlers, they became the Bees. And from the Bees, they became the Braves in 1912. I was blown away by some
I always
of this
remember the Bean Eaters. I remember thinking, who
I
would have
remember
ever
hearing
named
Bean
that?
Eaters, but I thought it was a minor league team or something later. But Braves came here in 1966 in Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, which to me, I loved all the old round stadiums like Riverfront, and they were horrible football
Multi-purpose.
stadiums, supposedly horrible football stadiums, but great baseball stadiums.
Great baseball.
Only one of them still in use.
And which one is that?
That would be the Oakland Coliseum, and that's only for baseball at this point.
Coliseum. Yeah, that's right, because
They're in Vegas.
And they're at the bottom of the list with attendance so far this year.
Are they really?
Yeah, they're
Oh, wow.
nobody.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, Bob, let's start off. Tell us your favorite memory of serving in Brother Francis and how that came about.
Well, I'm going to take you back a little. I grew up in West Palm Beach, Florida, and the Braves, when they were with Milwaukee, they came to West Palm Beach, and the Palm Beach County built a stadium, and that's where the Braves had spring training from '62 through when they moved to Disneyland in the '80s.
Wide World of Sports, right?
Right, Wide World of Sports. Well, because of that, I was really lucky. I played baseball in high school, and we used to, since that was a county facility, Palm Beach High School, we got to play our games and practice on that field. So when we get there before spring training broke, those guys were all around. Back in those days, they were friendly to the
Very accessible.
Right. They wanted to talk. They asked you what you were hitting, and I used to tell them the ground, but because I wasn't a very good hitter. But but they were really they were there. I mean, to the point where I shook hands with Hank back then and Eddie Matthews. In fact, I'll tell a little story that right behind the stadium there was they built the mall, and in the mall. Outside there was a very nice watering hole, and so the guy used to go down there with Husband and Gazard and all that crew and we'd all go down there and we'd go there. Well, the first one in would be Eddie, he was just you sit next to him, I drink a beer, he drink a whiskey sour, and he was just a great guy. He was just like the three of us, a personable gentleman. And then sometimes the missus was with him. But that was really an interesting time. I hadn't gotten into Brother Francis yet. But one other story, you guys, and I hope the folks out there enjoy it. So we're all down there. I think there were 6 of us went down every year. And I used to take my young son, Scott, with us, so my wife would think I was being a nice guy. Oh, look, he's taking his son down spring training. Well, he got to stay with my mom. But afterwards, we all went over to the watering hole, and Furman Bishop came because he was down there writing stories and everything. And Husband and Gazar were all up there. There were about 6 of us, and at 5 o'clock they would change over shifts. So whatever your bar bill was at 5. You had to pay up, and then they started the new bartender. So, Lewis said, "See the man sitting down there by himself? Give him the bill." So she said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, give it to him. He'll pay it for us. He's my boss." So, quick Furman, it didn't take him Furman 5 seconds to be up with his head. He said, "What are you doing to me? I can't do this. I can't." He said, "You're the sports editor of the Journal. You take some of the guys out. Nobody's going to know." So, believe it or not, gang, Furman picked up the check.
That's nice. That's nice.
So it was, Brother Francis came about when we opened the Pure Brew, which was right down the street here on Franklin Road back in those days. And our logo was a Franciscan monk. For some reason, we decided on that, and so we bought a robe, and I was, a little fatter than my skinny partner Rick, So I worked. So we go down in 80 to the opening night, okay? And we took a bus, and Miller Lite furnished a few of the brewskis for us, like about 7 cases.
They had some great commercials.
Right. Yeah, they did when they started the Hall of Fame stuff.
Yeah.
So in the 5th inning, we're playing the Big Red Machine. That was Cincinnati, for those of you. And I said to Rick, I said, this place is dead. I'm going to get on the dugout. He can't get on the. I said, watch. So bottom of the 5th, I get on the dugout. We're losing 3-0. And number 10, Rick Chambliss, is coming up to bat. An old Yankees player.
Chris Chambliss. Chris Chambliss.
Chris, what'd I say?
Rick.
That's close. You're right. I'm sorry. Okay. And so, you know, I get all the fans on their feet. Now, the official attendance that night was 11,700. By the 5th inning, it was no doubt down about 8,500. Okay, it was. So I get everybody standing up, making noise and cheering. And once you do second pitch, right field, boom, it's 3-1. So that pretty much wrote my name on the dugout, you know. So I go up, get off, and they want to arrest me. So I said to the chief of security guys, I said, "You want to arrest me? What I do? Disturbing the peace." After I left, you want to arrest me at a baseball game for disturbing the peace?
And there's only 12 people here?
There's only 12 people.
There's no peace?
That guy, Wayne Minshew, who was the PR director back then, he came running down the aisle, not the aisle, but the hallway there where we were standing. And they got into one of these, little squabble one. So I didn't get arrested, but I was told not to do it again. Well, that was a mistake to tell me that. But so Minshew said, meet me at my office at 10 o'clock. Can you do that? And I said, yeah, I'll be there at 10 o'clock. So boom, real quick. 9th inning, we're still losing 3-1. I get on the dugout. Well, I look up, and coming down every aisle is a security guy. I told Rick, I said, I felt like Custer, the little pig. You know?
They're coming.
I had no chance. So, boom, once again, they wanted to arrest me. So we ended that, and I went home. Met you the next day. He told me they liked what I was doing, and would I mind keep doing it? He said, now we can't give you tickets or anything. So I said, well, I'll buy tickets. That's fine. So it was a deal. I signed a contract for $1. $1, and that was so if I fell off the dugout, I couldn't sue anybody.
Or if you get hit by a line driver.
Or getting hit by a line driver or something like that. But so that was the start of Brother Francis for the next 4.5 years.
That's a fantastic story.
How many games did you go to?
First 2 years, I went to all 81.
All 81.
Right, and then that.
There weren't any playoff games back then.
No, we did have one.
Yeah. Come 82.
82, we go to St. Louis. Well, St. Louis had already called the Braves and told Brother Francis is making a trip with you guys. You let him know we cannot get on our dugouts. And so Minshew had to call. He was the poor middleman. He had to call Bob. I know you're going out to St. Louis. Do not get on the dugouts. They've already told me.
Although they named the stadium after beer, you're not allowed to stand on the dugout.
Right,
It makes good rule.
So I said, okay, but I'll tell you what, the Cardinal fans, you've heard sportscasters talking about, they're the best. They all were very, very friendly to me, except the one guy, when I walked out of the tunnel, he must have known I was coming. He poured a beer on me. Well, it didn't hurt my feelings, you know.
Lick it off.
Right. So that's really the only trip. And then I went down to spring training one year, one ball game. I wore the outfit because my old high school baseball coach was coming to the game to see me. So I wanted to let him see me in the outfit and everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's a cool story. We're going to dig more into the Braves in just a minute. But Bob, if you would, Bob's also the founder of an organization in Kennesaw called Helping One Guy. Bob, if you could tell us in a couple of minutes what's going on with Helping One Guy, and we have now partnered with them at Three Guys Who Love Sports, and we'll be help fund the organization. So tell us what that's all about, if you would, Brother Bob, Brother Francis.
There was an organization called Helping One Woman, and it was, the lady started it in California, but her sister had moved to the Marietta area, so they started one at North Shore. And I started thinking, guys are knuckleheads because, you know, when we got a problem, we don't want our buddies to know we have a problem. We want to keep it in here and not out. Where girls always have a girlfriend or an old sorority sister, and they, you know, but guys don't do that. So I talked to Mike Lynch and I said, Mike, what if I start an organization like that for men? He said, Bob, that's great. That's great. So I had a meeting with a lady from Howe, and she said, okay, what would you like to call it, Bob? And my marketing brain went to work, and I said, how about HOG, helping one guy? And she said, hey, that's a neat name, you know. And so that's where the name came, and the HOG, we all know had to be a hog, it had to have its horn coming out.
Absolutely.
You know, and so I started it in 12, and then unfortunately this past year I've had some illness and I lost a toe and everything. But Josh, we honor Josh, and he sent me a message and I said, thanks Bob, how can I help you? And Shannon and I, friend of Chuck's, said, let's talk to Josh Whale. I think he'd be a perfect fit. Took him to lunch, he said yes, and now Josh is the director and the head of HOG, and we're honoring in June on the 14th a guy, Rick McDonald, who needs a liver transplant. And he went to school with my youngest son, Tim, who also went to school with Ned Yost Jr. So the speaker on June, guys, is going to be Ned Yost.
Oh, nice.
So maybe you need to get there with a mic and do a little tape or something if you'd like.
That'd be fun.
I'd get that for you. And I just want everybody, you know, it's all about opening your hands to help. And I talk about the Good Samaritan, but I also talk about Jesus when he got down on his knees and he washed the feet of his apostles.
Yep.
And he did that by opening his hands to do it. And if you want to help, donations, I mean, a liver transplant isn't like going into Red Bear and getting a brewski.
Yeah.
It's a little more expensive. We'd appreciate your help. You can jump on the website, you can get all the information, and then if you want to, come to dinner on the 14th. Dinner's free. Copeland's is serving dinner. It's, like I said, it's free, and all the money, that's one thing about HOG. Every dollar that we raise goes 100% to the honorary.
That's awesome.
And so,
It's helpingoneguy.org.
yes, sir. Right. Yes, sir.
So make sure you get involved in that. We are certainly going to, and Josh has even asked me to MC the Christmas event.
Oh, has it?
Yeah,
Well,
so I look forward to doing that.
that's great.
And if you don't want to donate straight to helping one guy, you can donate to Three Guys Who Love Sports, and we'll donate it over there. So, you know, it's all good, however you want to do it.
Yeah, that's good. Now we got two channels.
There you go. So, back to Braves baseball. Do you remember your first game? Because I got to tell you my first ball game. And I did some research today, went back and found out the exact date. I didn't know the exact date.
My first Braves baseball game?
Braves baseball game.
First Braves baseball game would have been 1979, and I don't remember the game at all. But it would have been
I'm gonna tell you a
79.
little bit about mine because it's been called the greatest unimportant Braves game in the history of the Atlanta Braves. I actually found that today. It was August 9th, 1966. Can you tell me what happened that day?
1966, that's the year, that's the date they opened up, and pitcher was 13 innings.
No, but good try.
Good try? That's
Yeah.
not the game?
This was the game where Sandy Koufax, his next to last loss in the major leagues, pitched against Denny LeMaster. Tony Cloninger. Tony Cloninger was the very first pitch ever for the Atlanta Braves.
Right.
And Matty Alou was the batter. But this was my first game. It was, who was it? It wasn't Tony Cloninger. Denny LeMaster had a no-hitter until the 8th inning. And the Braves had already got a run. They scored. Jim Lefevre, I think, hit a solo home run in the 8th, which was the first hit.
Future manager.
Yep. And then he found up giving up a double and a single. Koufax had a double later in the inning, and somebody else got a single in the 9th inning. And then Eddie Matthews hit a home run in the bottom of the 9th, a walk-off home run. My Uncle Jack took me to this game, and I sat in the upper deck on the first base side behind the Braves, and then the Pat plays with the Pat. Of course, Koufax would do that.
Oh yeah, he could bring some people.
Was Koufax still in the ninth?
Both pitchers pitched the entire game, which you never see anymore.
No.
Nobody
No.
plays the game anymore, do they, Bob?
No, not really.
Yeah.
Well, see, now here's why you threw me off, because Tony was the first pitcher of the Braves game. Okay, and that night it was a cold night. He went 9 or 10 innings, pitched no hitter, and they ended up losing the game. The Braves 1-0. So that was really the storybook. If people would have read that chapter, they would have known what they were in for.
Many
40
years to come.
So what other record, national records, is Tony Cloninger still holding? See if anybody knows this?
2 home runs in a game.
Close. Tony Cloninger had 9 RBIs, and this is what got me hooked on baseball. Because the game I went to was in August. And on my birthday, July 3rd, 1966, Tony Cloninger hit 2 grand slams at Candlestick Park, and he also had an RBI single. He had 9 RBIs in one game
Most RBIs in National League history, I believe.
by a pitcher.
Gotcha.
But not anymore. Many people have hit 10 RBIs in a game now.
I know the one Yankee did it a long time ago, and he had the record forever.
Yeah, last guy to do it was, I think it was Nationals, Mark Reynolds. Yep. Mark Reynolds versus the Marlins in 2018. He was the last guy.
He was probably on my fantasy team bench.
Yeah, that would be my luck too. So, I mean, I was such a fan of Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. You could buy a ticket for $7 in the field level. $7. That's probably what it cost. It might have been less than that in the 80s. I don't know.
That was the first place I ever saw a man pee in a sink.
Did he bring a sink with him, or he was
Oh,
actually?
no, just too long of a line, too far of a walk. We'll just use the sink here in Atlanta Fulton County.
Awesome. So, Bob, when you were on the dugout during the game, what was something that happened that was really wild for you?
Well, I think a story that everybody liked, and the picture was in 9 front pages of national papers throughout the country. Ted loved the chicken. Ted thought the chicken and
San Diego chicken.
San Diego chicken.
I'm sorry, and that's somewhat the reason Ted liked me, because he knew he didn't sit down with me and hire me that it was just because of my love for baseball.
Correct.
And so the chicken's coming into town, and so I meet Ted before the game in the picnic area. Remember they had that picnic area over there? So I meet Ted over there, and we talk and shake hands. I said, okay, here's what we're going to do in the 5th inning. You're going to start on the third base dugout, and I'm going to start on the first base dugout. The organist is going to play rock, okay? And you're going to go, and I'm going to be doing this, and you're going to walk across, and you're going to get on the dugout, okay? And I said, you're going to come walking towards me, and I'm going to have a surprise for you. I had 3 chicken legs, fried chicken, wings for it. So I get, and he, he threw it in the dugout. But the thing is, I said to him, I said, okay, now turn around and walk away, but spread your feet. He said, what are you talking about? I said, I'm going to come underneath you, and I'm going to pick you up on my shoulders. He said, you think you can do that? I said, how much do you weigh? He said, 125 pounds. I said, no problem. Don't worry about it, Ted.
He was on a liquid diet.
He was walking this way, and I went in, and the next day, there was on 9 papers nationally.
That's funny.
Because they had, and then in '82, I got a lot when they went 13-0. And that was a big.
I went to one of those games. I think I went to game 11. I think
I
I went to 11 or something.
So many great things happened in Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. Obviously, Hank's 715th home run. He hit the 714th in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. They made him play. The commissioner made him put him in the batting order.
Death threats out of Cincinnati.
Well, death threats out of here too.
Yeah.
Sure,
He
everywhere.
only was one short of the bag when he came into 74. Was it? When he hit the home run?
Yeah.
74. Yeah.
Just one of those things that we kind of have come to expect death threats from the deep south when it comes to something like this. He was getting death threats at every city, regardless of you thought there was any racism in that city or not.
Hank Aaron's still the home run champ.
Absolutely. His skull didn't grow or anything else.
It's just like Maris got those same threats in New York when he was going for 61 and everything.
He got some of them. He didn't get all of them. North Dakota boys didn't get all of them back
Some of the
then.
other great things that happened in Fulton County Stadium was Gene Garber stopping Pete Rose's hit streak.
44-game hit streak.
Oh yeah, I was there that night, and I'll tell you what, Pete was upset.
Was
His comment after the game was, he was pitching like it was the ninth inning of the World Series. Well,
It was to him.
you know, what's the genie?
If you only got 20 wins, this is everything.
Isn't that how you're supposed to pitch every game?
Absolutely. It's the way Pete Rose played every game.
Yeah, Charlie Hustle. And we can get into whether he ought to be in the Hall of Fame or not, but we'll skip that one for now.
Should be.
But great things happened at that stadium. My son Chip is now just turned 33 on Monday, May 2nd. His first baseball game was on, you might remember this one, July 25th, 1992. Can anybody tell me what happened on that day?
That wasn't Fire Dog, was
No,
it?
that would have been Frederick Griffith with the
92.
no,
Was that Dion showed up with a helicopter?
no,
Damn it.
it was the catch. When
Otis?
Nixon made the catch. That was Chip's first base.
Running up the wall.
Yeah, we were 10 feet, 10 yards behind the home plate, from behind the home plate, behind the screen. And the Braves had one hit that night. David Justice had a home run in the second or third inning, first or second inning. And that was it. I think the Pirates had 3 or 4 hits. But Andy Van Slyke hit this ball in the 8th or top of the 9th. I think it was top of the 9th. And like Robert said, Otis Nixon climbed the wall. Actually stuck his foot.
Yeah, there's a cleat mark.
Yeah, to catch the home run.
That-
Andy Van Slyke. And that gave Braves a 13-game winning streak.
Let me just say that Andy Van Slyke was probably one of the nicer people to ever put on a uniform, and that guy's got to wake up at 2 in the morning all the time screaming stuff about the Braves because we did not treat him very nicely.
Yeah. So, speaking of the nice players, who's the nicest player you ever met, Bob? And who was the most rude player you ever met?
Well, nicest is easy, gang. Dale Murphy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Super Murph.
he was. In fact, when the new stadium opened, I went to the first game, and I was walking to my seat, and I look up, and here comes a guy with a daughter and a granddaughter, and everything. I looked, I said, "That's Murph." So when I walked by him, I said, "Hey, Murph." He turned around and said, "Brother Francis?" And so then I walked over to him because he had a security guy working with him. And so the security guy we knew each other. I went over and talked to him for about 4 minutes and shook his hand. He said, "We had a lot of fun back in the 80s, didn't we?" I said, "We sure did."
What a cool memory. I was, my mom and I had a very contentious relationship when it came to the Braves. Whoever she liked, I didn't like, but only because she liked it.
Right.
So when Dale Murphy was her favorite player, Bob Horner was mine. Bob, 4 home runs Horner in one game. He was my favorite Brave ever. I loved Bob Horner. Loved his Arizona freewheeling self.
Arizona State. Yep.
Sun Devil. But nice guy. But how about the worst player? Who was the toughest one, or the one that just didn't want to have anything to do with it?
Well, for some reason, I was lucky. I mean, they were all, like, I always hung out in the dugout before the game and everything. And I never had anybody, in fact, in 82, they had that backup catcher, I can't remember, but he had 14 letters.
Biff Pocoroba?
No, not Bill Pocoroba.
Not Eggs Benedict. Not
And
Biff
he brought up in the
Pocoroba.
clubhouse that, hey, if we win some extra money, we should give some to Brother Francis. And they all started kidding me about that, telling me that he's trying to give away our money. But I really didn't have any guy that was like, too good to talk to me or not, whatever,
Right.
So
pretty much just the St. Louis Cardinals fans who told you that you couldn't walk on their stadium.
they
That
were.
wasn't even fans. That was the grass.
That was the administration.
I hate Cardinals fans, just for the record.
Another good player. I had a great relationship with Horner, but also Mike Long. Mike Long was another real gentleman, and he was the first player from Hawaiian to play.
Yeah.
And he had that 1 year. He led the National League or was leading the National League in pinch hitting. And I don't know, the last couple of times I guess he didn't get hits, and he didn't get the gift. But Lum and Horner were two of my best. Royster was a character. Royster always hung out with us on Sunday after the ball game because he and Bobby were big friends.
Bobby Cox?
No, Bobby Horner.
Oh, Bob Horner. Okay.
And then Cheney was a good guy. Also, he liked to have a cocktail and tell stories and everything. Nuxie was another guy the same way.
Somebody tell me that what a great guy Phil
Phil Negro, in fact, he back in those days, his charity that he was spina bifida, and so one year I said, hey, I'll do the Pew Golf Tournament and the charity, and we'll give the money to spina bifida. Well, he said, okay, I'll get a couple of the guys. Philadelphia was coming, and he brought the third baseman for the Phillies, Mike Schmidt, big Rick Reed, who I knew because he was a Notre Dame boy, and two others, I guess four. Well, we ran out of golf clubs. The pro had to call in 12 caddies for us. You talk about overbooking something. I thought I'd get a job with Eastern Airlines because, back in those days, they were famous for, we got 80 seats, we'll sell 90 tickets. But, I was fortunate. I was there. The big money hadn't really gotten there yet, and these guys played the game because they loved it. And,
it wasn't so much scrutiny from the media because there wasn't any media.
Right, and they hadn't won. Everybody's already got us out of this year's playoffs. And everything. But
it's funny that you say Jerry Royster because I went to the Jerry Royster All-American Baseball Camp at West Georgia College when I was like 11 and 12. And then at the end of the week, whatever position you signed up for, he brought a Brave from that position, whether it be Hubbard, Ramirez, Horner, Chambliss, and you got a little bit of, insight from the guy. So I met a lot of them, not drinking. I wish I could have, but very cool guy.
Yeah.
Very cool guy.
Another quick story. I know I played golf a lot with Bobby over at Dunwoody Country Club. He lived over there. So Royster was there, and Bobby's dad was in town to catch a couple of games with his mom. So that was the foursome, and I was definitely the weakest player of the group. So we're going down the second or third hole, and Horn's in. His second shot, his irons aren't doing well. Well, he shanked an iron shot, and it upset him. And he took that club and he threw it. Okay. And as soon as he threw it, Mr. Horner said, "Robert," and he chewed on old Bob for about 3 minutes. Bob went down there and picked up the club, and
you may be a professional athlete who gets paid a lot of money, but we don't act like that.
Right, we don't act like that in the Horner family.
That's good.
Yeah, you don't see that much anymore.
No.
That's a really
But
fun fact.
he comes to town occasionally, and I haven't been able to catch up with him. He's put on a few pounds since his playing days.
Bob has?
Yeah.
So he doesn't live here anymore. Is he back in Arizona?
No, he lives in Texas. He went into business with his agent. Anybody remember his name?
I do not.
I don't know.
Yeah, he went into business with him. They bought a couple of television stations and radio stations in Houston.
Well, speaking of agents, our agent of the day, Steve Pearson's calling in. Steve, what do you think about this nonsense?
It was actually pretty fun. Great stories. I did, Brother Francis, I did have some good times at the Pew and Brew when I was younger. I do remember watching my racers beat Jim Valvano's North Carolina State Wolfpack, and my wife and I are at the Pew and Brew watching that game. And every time we had a big game that was on television, we went to the Pew and Brew. So we had some good times there. I'm surprised. I'm like you guys. I'm surprised Baker Mayfield's still available. I thought he was pretty good with the Browns, and I'm surprised he didn't have a team. And by the way, I'm not a big fan of his, but I thought his commercials were really funny.
I did too. Yeah.
And I think the Falcons are going to be really bad this year, but I don't think they're going to be one of the worst teams. They get the Panthers twice, they get New Orleans twice, they get to play Washington, they get Seattle, they get Chicago, and I think as long as the Lions and the Texans and the Jaguars and the Jets and the Giants and the Bears and the Panthers are in the league, I think they'll be ahead of more than 5 of those.
Middle of a road team.
Yeah. And no, not middle of the road. Not middle of the road. I think they'll win 5 games, maybe.
So you're still
but I
thinking we're
think
a top 10 draft pick team?
we're a top 10 draft pick.
Okay.
I don't know if we're top 5. I would say they'll win 5 games. 6 would be they'd have to get really hot to win 6. So, and by the way, you can bet the gray horse in the Derby all you want. There hasn't been a Derby winner that's been a gray horse since 2005. Did you know that?
No, but I'll tell Michael that before we leave Red here.
Yeah. And only 5 since 2005. Only 4 horses have actually been in the money out of over 30 gray horses. And my wife bets the gray horse too. So
That's funny because she's a Kentucky girl too. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Chuck, I did want to ask you, how good were the Boston Bees in 1911, and did you have season tickets?
No, but Bob Kelly did. He said his dad did. I knew something was coming. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I guess it would have been a long commute from Powder Springs to Boston to watch the Bees. So.
Yeah. Even though I've never lived in Powder Springs, you're right. Yeah.
Okay. Off of Powder Springs Road.
There you go. That's for sure. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
All right.
And I have to agree with Brother Francis. I think the Cardinal fans are the best. They're a classy group. They're a knowledgeable group. And if you want to hold something against them for the infield fly rule, quite frankly, if Braves make plays in that game, you don't have to worry about it. And speaking of 2 grand slams, there is a Cardinal that hit 2 grand slams in the same inning. Francisco Tatis, who is the father of the Padres shortstop, he actually did.
Fernando Tatis.
Yeah, but Francisco hit 2 grand slams in the same inning for the Cardinals, and I think that was back around, probably around 2000, maybe 1999, 1998.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Andy Van Slyke, and I was at a ball game when Andy Van Slyke was playing in St. Louis, because I grew up 100 miles from St. Louis, and there was a rain delay. That's when Van Slyke was playing for the Cardinals. And out pops a bat boy, and the bat boy's wearing a helmet. And he went out to center field, and he held up a flag. Wearing a helmet, he held up a flag in deep center field. And out comes Andy Van Slyke during the rain delay with a couple other guys. He brought a pocket full of golf balls and a wedge, and they had a closest to the pin contest trying to hit that bat boy out in the middle of center field.
That's a cool story.
They stood at home plate and hit golf balls out and tried to land them closest to the flag out there.
What a fun thing to do.
He was quite a character, but yeah I agree. We kind of I do remember I was at the game where he was with the Pirates and playing and just to watch him in center field, when Sid Bream scored and the dejection on him, because he was their player.
Yep.
That was his best year. I mean, they had lots of other good players. But that was his career year, and to him not make out of the first round of the playoffs was you could see that he knew that wasn't going to happen anymore, because the Killer Bees are going to be broken up and all that. So anyway, Chuck, that's all I got. Unless you had something for me.
Nope. Appreciate you calling in, give us the tip on the horse racing, and please.
I think it might have to pick a mutter.
Your mother was a mother. Yeah. Well, tell
a
me.
lot of these really high quality horses, they don't like to run them in the mud.
Yeah.
Or they don't run them hard in the mud. So this is going to be interesting. It'll be interesting Derby this year.
It'll be a fun race. Look forward to spending it at your house, and please tell your lovely wife happy birthday for me.
Okay, thank you.
All right, buddy. See you Saturday. Bye-bye.
If I can, for just a second.
Oh, you can.
I hate Cardinals fans, but just to go in why I hate them because they're so good and they're so loyal. So during the 90s, when all the Braves fans were just wanting to go to World Series games but didn't want to bother going to the games to get you there, these guys would buy all of the tickets and flood the stadium to where you'd show up and it's like half red instead of all blue. So that's why I hate them.
Is it more of an event now than a baseball game? People go say, "Oh, I went to the Braves game." Well, big deal. Do you really care about who's winning, or you just go to watch the game, or just to show you can say, "I've been at the Braves game"?
That's a very good point. I'll say this, for what the Battery has brought to the table, that will never happen again, where all of the tickets go unsold and allow another team to slide into all of our home games. That'll never happen because people do go to the Battery.
Yeah, they do. I mean, the biggest problem they had during the World Series was they didn't have enough porta potties, and the businesses stopped letting people in to use the bathroom. And that was the biggest problem that they had, which for Brave fans, that's a great problem, but the Battery, the guys who put that together and drew it on a piece of paper and made it happen. Those guys, I don't think you'll ever see another ballpark with that whole situation the way it is.
Yeah, what do you think about the stadium compared to Turner Field and compared to Atlanta Fulton County Stadium? I've heard some non-pleasant things about Truist Park. Like too much sun, it's too hot there, and could have positioned it better. I don't know, because I don't go to a lot of games, but.
Well, if you talk to somebody from up north, it's not too hot. I mean, back in the heyday in July and August in center field in Yankee Stadium or Shea Stadium, all those guys took their T-shirts off. And baseball, in fact, I had a phone call one time with my brother friends from Sports Illustrated. Cincinnati was starting to talk about stopping that, and he asked me my opinion, and I just told him what I just said. It's amazing what people can find to complain about. That is a beautiful ballpark. It'll be a beautiful ballpark 30 years from now. And if they don't like it, move to Chicago. Wrigley Field is nice.
Start watching lacrosse.
Yeah. So we got to wrap up real quick. What's your favorite park you've ever been to?
My favorite park is Old Yankee Stadium.
The Old Yankee Stadium?
Only because of the history, and every time now, you can sit anywhere and no obstruction. I remember sitting behind one of the steel beams with a $16 ticket, which was a lot of money. But I should have been there. Every time I got to get the beer, I asked if you want. But Yankee Stadium and Wrigley, I've been lucky to be at Wrigley. I've been lucky to be in the press box with Harry and everything. But those two parks are definitely my favorites. Now, I've never been out to L.A. and so I can't say about that.
I've been to Chavez Ravine before. You're not missing anything.
Really?
It's empty in the first 3 innings, and it's empty during the last 3 innings.
Right. So the people come for the event. I was at the Dodger game. I'm going home.
Right.
So, what's your favorite park?
I love all parks. My favorite park is always the next park.
Too.
The next park, but I'd say Fenway right now.
Yeah.
Fenway.
Well,
I
I love Fenway. I've got a friend that's got 10th row seats right behind the third base dugout at Fenway. He's had them for a long time. But I was very fortunate to be able to go to Fenway and go to Wrigley for the first time in the same month, in the summer of 2000 to 2001. And when I walked into Fenway, I was blown away, basically because of Field of Dreams. I love that scene in there. And then when I got to Wrigley, I said, well, I used to think Fenway was heaven. Now I know that Wrigley is baseball heaven. So 2 fabulous parks. The one I didn't like was Shea Stadium because I was a guest of Pepsi, and they had put me in their box seats. Their box seats were skinnier than these chairs. I could not fit in the box seat from Pepsi at the stadium.
Well, the new stadium is considered the house that Chipper built.
The new Braves Stadium?
No, the new Met Stadium.
Oh, Shea, what is it called? City Field?
City Field, because he named his daughter Shea after the abuse that he put on that field. So absolutely, they couldn't wait to close that stadium down.
Well, guys, time to wrap it up. Brother Francis, I can't think of having anybody better on the show than you to tell us your story. Great to share.
Robert, very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Robert, it's always good to see you.
I'd like to get a picture for your
Absolutely.
That's great. And guys, before we sign off, don't forget, know your numbers, cover your ass, get your prostate checked. We'll see you next week.
Go with Charge It.
round in third and heading home.
Yeehaw!
Charge It's going to win the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.